The morning sun rose gently over the city of Abuja, Nigeria. People hurried to work while expensive cars filled the streets. On top of a quiet hill, the most beautiful mansion in the city, surrounded by flowers, fountains, and security guards. It belongs to Mama Isabella, a 58-year-old billionaire widow whose wealth was known across the country. She owned hotels, shopping malls, transport companies, and large farms. Newspapers called her one of the richest women in Nigeria. To the world, Mama Isabella had the perfect life. But behind the gate of her magnificent mansion was a woman whose heart had been broken for 5 years. Every evening after her workers had gone home and the light in the mansion became dim, she would sit alone in her late husband's favorite chair. She would hold his old photograph close to her chest and whisper, "I still miss you every single day." Tears rolled down her cheeks as silence filled the empty house. The expensive furniture, the luxury cars, and the millions in her bank account could not fill the loneliness that lived inside her heart. Since her husband's death, many wealthy men had come asking for her hand in marriage. Politicians arrived with bodyguards, businessmen arrived with expensive gifts. Some even claimed that God had revealed to them that they were meant to marry her. But Mama Isabella could see the greed in their eyes. None of them loved her. They loved her money. Each time they left her mansion, she felt even more alone. Across the city lived David, a 30-year-old mechanic who struggled to survive. He rented a tiny room with a leaking roof. During the rainy season, he placed buckets on the floor to catch the water dripping from the ceiling. Some nights he went to bed hungry because there was no money left after paying rent and buying spare parts for customers. Yet everyone knew him that David has respect. He refused to cheat. He refused to steal. He believed that an honest life was worth more than easy money. Every morning before opening his small roadside workshop, he knelt beside his bed and prayed, "Lord, I may be poor today, but don't let poverty change my heart. Give me strength to remain honest." One hot afternoon, Mama Isabella decided to inspect one of her hotels without telling anyone. Halfway through the journey, a luxury SUV suddenly lost power and stopped in the middle of a lonely road. She tried starting the engine again, nothing. She sighed in frustration. At that moment, a young mechanic carrying a toolbox walked toward her. "Good afternoon, ma. My name is David. May I help you?" She nodded. David opened the bonnet and carefully examined the engine. Sweat ran down his face under the hot sun as he worked patiently. 15 minutes later, the engine came back to life. Mama Isabella smiled with relief. "You have saved me." She opened her handbag and handed him 50,000. David counted the money before quietly returning 40,000. She stared at him in disbelief. "Why are you giving it back?" "The repair only cost 10,000, David replied. "I cannot collect money I did not earn." For several seconds, Mama Isabella could not speak. She had met thousands of people in her lifetime. Many had lied to her. Many had betrayed her. Many had stolen from her. But this young man had just returned money that could have fed him for weeks. As she drove away, she looked at him through her rearview mirror until he disappeared from sight. That night she could not sleep. His honest stayed in her heart. 1 week later, she returned to his workshop. "My car is making another strange sound," she said. David inspected it carefully before smiling. "Ma, your car has no problem." Mama Isabella burst into laughter. "I know." David looked confused. "I only wanted another chance to see the only honest mechanic I have ever met." From that day, their friendship began. They shared meals together. They talked about life. David listened as Mama Isabella spoke about her late husband, the pain of losing him, and the loneliness that money could never heal. He never interrupted her. He simply listened. For the first time in years, Mama Isabella felt understood. Months passed, and something beautiful began to grow between them. One evening, they sat beside a quiet lake and the sun painted the sky orange. Mama Isabella broke the silence. "David, when I am with you, I don't feel like a billionaire." David smiled gently. "You don't have to be one around me." She looked into his eyes. "I think I am falling in love with you." David's smile disappeared. He stood up immediately. "No." She looked shocked. "What do you mean? This cannot happen. Why? You deserve someone your age, someone rich, someone important." She slowly stood and walked closer. "I have spent my whole life surrounded by important people." She placed her hand on him, "but none of them gave me peace." David's eyes filled with tears. "People will say I came because of your money." Mama Isabella smiled sadly. "Let them talk." After a long silence, David finally whispered, "I love you too." News of their relationship spread like wildfire. Television stations discussed it, bloggers mocked them, social media exploded with cruel comments. "He is a gold digger. She is old enough to be his mother. This marriage won't last." The insult became so severe that David stopped reading the news. But the biggest battle had not yet begun. Mama Isabella relatives believed that if she married David, they would lose the inheritance they had been waiting for. So they planned something dangerous. They invited David to a private meeting inside a luxury hotel. Waiting for him was a black suitcase. One of the relatives slowly opened it. Inside was 500 million in cash. The room became silent. "Take this money," the man said. "Leave Mama Isabella forever, and no one will ever hear from us again." David stared at the money. He imagined the house he could build, the cars he could buy, the life he had always dreamed of. For a brief moment, temptation filled his heart. Then he remembered Mama Isabella's smile, the way she trusted him, and the promise he had made to God never to sell his integrity. He quietly closed the suitcase. "I am poor," he said calmly, "but my love is not for sale." The relative laughed. "Think carefully, this is 500 million. David looked them in the eyes. "If I betray the woman who trusted me, I will become the poorest man on earth, no matter how much money I have." He pushed the suitcase back. "You can keep your money." Then he walked away. None of them realized that Mama Isabella had been standing outside the room. She had heard every word. Tears flowed freely down her face. Never in her life had anyone chosen over money. At that moment, she knew she had found a love worth protecting. A month later, their wedding day arrived. Many people came expecting embarrassment. Instead, they witnessed something unforgettable. As Mama Isabella walked slowly down the aisle in a simple white gown, every guest stood in silence. David could not stop crying. When she finally reached him, she gently wiped away his tears. The pastor smiled. "Do you promise to love each other in riches and in hardship, in health and in sickness, for as long as you both shall live?" Without hesitation, they both answered, "I do." The church erupted into applause. Even those who had mocked them found themselves wiping away tears. After their marriage, David refused to change who he was. He still visited his old workshop, helping young mechanics learn the trade together. He and Mama Isabella used their wealth to build orphanage, hospital, schools, and scholarship programs for children who could never have afforded an education. Years later, people no longer remember them as the rich widow and the poor mechanic. They remember them as the couple whose love proved that honesty is more valuable than money, and that true love is found not by looking at someone's wealth or age, but by looking into their heart. And every evening, as they watched their sunset together from the porch of their home, Mama Isabella would smile and whisper, "I searched for happiness in riches, but God hid it inside the heart of a poor mechanic." David would gently squeeze her hand and reply, "The greatest blessing of my life was never your money. It was finding someone who loved me for who I truly am." They smiled at each other as the sun disappeared